What up, y'all? It's Snow the Product, and you're kicking it here with my boy Nick on Hardknocktv, and we got a great interview coming.
One of my favorite verses that you did is actually not your song, but you're featured on the song. Is on the Hamilton Mixtape.
Oh, yeah.
Immigrants. I'm an immigrant myself, and your verse and Residente's verse are my two favorite. I mean, the whole track is great, but I think what you both talk about kind of gives me the pilas I need when I need to get a little energy to move forward. Can you tell me a little bit about that song and that verse?
Yeah, so this is back when I was at Atlantic, and I remember the A&R, I hadn't had very many opportunities like there, you know. It wasn't like they were giving me like, yo, I got this feature, there's like, I just kind of was forgotten about. So the one time that they go, yo, there's a song that's actually perfect for you, it's talking about immigrants. They're like, all we got is a beat, and it just says, you know, immigrants, we get the job done, but if you kill this and they like it, like they'll keep you on it. And I was like, all right, dope, like a fucking show and proof, it's time for me to do this shit. I get the beat, I just fucking like said what I needed to say, you know, and I was like thinking in my head, like, what can I say that's kind of simple? Because I didn't want to go classic going fast or whatever. I wanted to say some shit. And so I did it. And then I guess they happened to be next to Miranda when he was in the studio. So he listened to it and they got his face and he just turns around and goes like, yo, what the fuck is this? So he was like hype and I was like, oh, lit, I'm on it, you know? And it wasn't until after that I knew like Residente was gonna be on it and all that shit. And I was like, oh man, I can't even believe I'm on that song, you know? But it was dope. It was dope for me, especially because I knew that I had to show and prove, and I know that I did. And it's like, I earned my spot on that, you know, like it was cool. And yeah, I said some lines on there that I'm very proud of. Like Peter Piper claimed he picked me, just underpaid Pablo. And what else did I say? What's the other one I said that stands out?
The Ghostwriter part. The
America's Ghostwriter, the credit's only borrowed. Yep. Those lines were crazy to me because I knew that I had to simplify it. It's almost like on that BET cypher where like I knew I had to say some shit that like struck a chord with people. So like, you know, it's important to do that because I could sit here and tell you how important immigrants are to the United States. I could tell you this was Mexico. I could tell you all these things in songs, but the choice of beat and the choice of how I say it and the comedic timing or like anything that you do with it is the thing that makes people even give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like at this point in my career, I've said these things a bunch of times. It's like I've never swayed from the point. The point is, I come from immigrants. They are important. Stop being racist against Mexican people. Women are important. Know your worth. You know what I'm saying? Like these are the same things that I've been saying for fucking 10 years. I gotta start saying it creative ways, and I think that's why it's fucking working lately is because I'm just like, bro, the proof is in the pudding. We've been saying this shit, and now, you know, because of current events, people are listening.
It's crazy. I was listening to a track you dropped 4 years ago. Was it Snooze? Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, these lyrics are still as relevant today as they were 4 years ago. Yeah. It's like, sometimes I do just look back at my career, like I'll listen to old songs and I'll be like, damn, I've been saying the same fucking shit to these people. They just ain't been listening. Like I deadass been saying some important shit and people are just like, it's whatever. And then now people are literally like, I've seen lines like be used at like picket signs and I'm like, there ain't no credit to me because of course people have reused them or whatever, but it's like, all right, cool. At least it lets me know it's gonna make a dope movie when I die. You were definitely one of the first artists that when George Floyd died, you spoke about that. You spoke about Black Lives Matter. You went to the downtown LA protest. Why is it important to you to use your platform to shed light on these social issues?
I mean, it always has been because, you know, whether we're talking about immigrants or Black Lives Matter or, you know, farm workers or missing soldiers or anybody, you know, that anything that's going wrong, like that's just your duty as a human being. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care if I have 1 million followers or if I have 5 or if I have to argue with family members or if, you know, I have to stop talking to family members that won't get it or that are disrespectful in certain issues. Like, I do feel that there has to be repercussions for being a dumbass. And there's a lot of people nowadays that are valuing being a troll and being a meme and, you know, making fun of things and triggering people. And it's like, you're a dumbass. Like, you deserve to get your ass beat. You deserve people to not talk to you. You deserve to feel as lonely as you're going to feel when you realize that was not what you should have been doing. You should be trying to be a part of the change. You should be trying to help out in some way, because I have a kid and I want him to live in a better world, or even a month from now, I want us to be in a better world than if everybody just didn't give a fuck, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a human being thing. Like, it doesn't take that much decision if you're a good person, you know?
What did you see when you were on the streets for the protests?
To be honest, I was checking for Mexican people, like, because I feel as a voice in my community, I want to make sure we're there. I want to make sure we show up. I want to see it and I want to document it, because there is a lot of people that are wanting to have that rift between Latinos and Black. I do see that there's a lot of people kind of like igniting the fire with that, and I want to make sure that there's evidence that we're there. And it's not for clout for Mexican people. It's just like, yo, let's make sure that we do have all the facts, because when people go, Mexican people hate Black people, or like Black people hate Mexican people, like, I want to make sure that we try to like not feed that shit, because at the end of the day, we're in the same communities, we're in the same buildings, we're in the same hoods, we're in the same places. So it's like us beefing, you know, like two men arguing in a burning building doesn't fucking help. It's like, you both got to get the fuck out of there. You sitting there and fucking arguing with each other is like, we're going through a lot of similar struggles. And I think a lot of people don't get that, you know, even in the Mexican community. I've seen people, I've had to check people, I've lost fans, I've gone in on people. Like, it's just our duty to try to make sure that people don't lose sight of what the goal is, you know, because they very much can.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're in the same fight, and sometimes because we're in those neighborhoods that we're next to each other, we feel like, oh, well, this is the person that I have a fight with. But if you take a step back and you're like, no, the bigger problem is both cultures are dealing with the systemic issues.
Exactly.
But you did bring up an interesting point that I definitely want to talk about, which is, it seems at times like this, there are certain factors that are trying to pit Black and brown against each other. And it's an interesting conversation, because on the one hand, I understand what our community is saying, what the Latino community is saying in terms of Vanessa, Andres, Sean, the paleteros not necessarily getting the national exposure that they should be getting.
Exactly.
I don't want to take away the validity of that conversation, but I do also see that some people then use it to be like, well, Black community doesn't support us, so we shouldn't support them. And it just gets into like a real contentious, tricky conversation to ride, because on one hand you want to show support obviously for Black Lives Matter and for all the people that are getting killed by police brutality, and on the other hand you also want to highlight the injustices that are happening in the Latino community without taking away from the injustices that are happening in the Black community. How do you ride that? It's
been a tough bit. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and between all that, like with all this time that's been going on, because like I said, even back on Snooze, you know, Race Lately's on some gang shit, like, what shit you claim? You know, and I said, you know, sometimes, you know, the world's black and white. Like, we don't matter sometimes because the world is so black and white, but it's like, it's so hard. And there's been times when I've posted and then like, I've been like, okay, can I word this differently? Because I don't want to make people think that I'm thinking. And it's like, it's just so tough right now for artists like me, where it's like, I will never invalidate our feelings. And a lot of them are correct. You know, when the eloteros and the paleteros and the street vendors are being, you know, hit and everything like that, you don't see that on Shade Room. You don't see that on Baller Alert. You don't see that on that. But you see in Chicago, when Mexican people are trying to defend their businesses and chasing people away with guns, you see that. You see the headline, Mexicans are uniting with police to, you know, like shoot at, you know, unarmed Black men. And it's like, so you see this headline, but it's like, you don't see the support. You don't see all that stuff. So to me, it's like, and you can't expect somebody from Idaho or North Carolina to understand that in California, you have so many people that are writing for this shit. So it's like, it's hard, man. Like, I've fucking cried. I've gotten off his social media. I've came back and I'm back at it and happy to fucking ride. And then I'm back sad. And, you know, I've talked to fucking Aide, which I know, you know, like, I've talked to women, Latinas that feel so strongly in this shit. And a lot of us are fucking like, you break down and then you pick back up and then you do it and then you break down again. And you're just like, you care so much, and it fucking like just sucks, you know. And it also sucks to think that in the long run, a lot of the leaders have gotten killed by their own, and a lot of people that cared so much and devoted their whole life to a particular movement end up just getting shitted on by what they were pushing or their own people. So you just gotta fucking do it, man, and hope we are the change, you know. Like, there ain't nothing else to do. If I was to stop trying, what am I gonna do? Sit around and just be like a bum? What am I gonna do? Like not speak for my people, you know? Like I can't even imagine. It's like I'm fighting for something I believe in. So all we can do is keep trying, even if we keep wording it wrong sometimes.
I think that's the key. I feel like so many people are afraid to word it wrong that they just don't have the conversation in the first place.
Exactly.
Because it's like, well, I don't want to say something that might offend someone, so, and then people think about it so much that they end up not doing anything.
There's a lot of famous people, you know, that are scared to lose a fan base. I get it. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop is bought predominantly by white kids. We know this. Like this is a fact. And people, anyone who's denying that is fucking stupid. Like I get a lot of people that are like, you better speak for Mexicans because Mexicans are your main, you know, bread and butter. And it's like, no, yes, I represent Mexican people, but when I look at my crowds, it's very mixed, and it's definitely a lot of white, and that's why I've never just blamed white people. However, I do understand that there is a bigger play. Like I've even said this, it's a classism thing. It's not a race thing. It's literally, they don't care about the poor people. And in poor, there is black, there is white, there is Mexican, there's Asian, there's everybody. Like people don't give a fuck, and they want to keep holding down people so that they can keep their power. That's it. So let's try to fight smart. You know what I mean? Not just fucking be out here popping off and fighting amongst ourselves and pointing the finger and having more racism shit or like race baiting. Like, but we do have to call it what it fucking is. And when things happen, like for example, the fucking Karen moment I myself had is like, you kind of look at that person and be like, oh my God, you do exist. Like
in California.
In California, in LA, like you are right in front of my face telling me to go back to my country in 2020. Whoa. That's crazy.
Another standout track that I resonate with a lot is Bilinguae, which has a lot of different meanings in it. But one of the meanings is the duality of having one foot in each world, yet not fully feeling like you're fully in each world.
Yeah.
Can you talk about the inspiration behind that track and what it means to you?
That track was fun because, yes, I wanted to represent being bilingual, bicultural, and like you know, American, Mexican, bisexual, all that in one, and just like the struggle that it is to be all these things and the fun that it is to be all these things. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm trying to, like I said before, I'm trying to represent. I've had my years of being angry. I've had my years of boom bap and aggressive tracks where I'm catastrophe, blasphemy, fucking, you know, whatever. I've had that. I'm now just having fun with it and saying the same shit, just in a more light-hearted way, and maybe people will get it. More of a put the vitamin in the candy type thing, and hopefully, you know, everybody will swallow the truth. And so that's what it is on Bilingue. It was a fun way to just represent something that for a lot of years made me struggle with depression and anxiety, and will I be accepted, and I'm not accepted here, and I'm not accepted there, and I'm not enough of this, you know, I'm never enough for anybody, you know. So it's like, why not just make it a fun thing and have certain like little innuendos, and you know, my girl's eating donuts and churros and tacos in the fucking video. Like it was fun. We made it in the living room. My brother shot it, and you know, we just, all you need is a camera, a tripod, and something to say, and then you get a track like Bilingue. But that was fun.
You mentioned dark times, depression. What keeps you going when you hit those times? Nowadays,
how far I've come, you know. I understand that like there were certain, I could look back on my life and on my career and look at certain times when I'm like, yo, I deserved more than that, or I deserved better, or like somebody took so much money from me or whatever. But when I was in the bathroom, locked away, writing my little songs, like envisioning to have as much as I have now, like I would have thought I made it, you know what I'm saying? So it's like knowing that keeps me going, because it's like shit, like, you know, I'm so far removed from where I was, but still very much inside the same fucking person, and I can only imagine if I keep going who I'm gonna be in a few more years, you know. So, and just like all these promises I've made to my brother and my cousin and my team, and you know, and I've been like, yo, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that, and that's what's gonna happen. I love seeing everybody's faces when something I promised 3 years ago actually happens, and I'm like, I told you, you know, like sometimes you're struggling and you can't really make it happen, so everybody starts to get nervous, and it's like, is it really gonna, and then you pull through, and then you show your team like, yo, that's why you fuck with me, is because you know I got word and we're gonna do this shit. And I can't wake up, quit, and then feel like people should be working hard for me. Like I have to work. I will have to work as hard or harder than people. That's my motivation.
When was that moment that you knew you made your parents proud?
Shit. I hadn't seen my dad in 14 years, so I didn't really know. I saw him recently, and he told me, and I think him telling me and just being like, I can't believe. I took him and his new kids and everything to like a nice resort type shit, and I just kind of was like, don't worry, like I got it. Even though I was kind of looking at it like, oh shit, this shit's kind of expensive, but I was like, I got it, like I got y'all. And my dad just looking at me and being like, damn, like like that's my daughter, like she did that. I'm like, yeah, I got y'all. So I think that for my dad. And for my mom, it was just, I've took her on tour. Like when I had a tour bus and she's in front of crowds and it's sold out shows and everybody's fucking cheering and, crying and all that, like those feelings are like, and looking at my mom's face like, oh shit, like this is real. That has always been like cool. That's what it was about.
Watching the vlog with your mom when you talk about being an artist, would you rather me be in college or be an artist? And she's like, she thought about it for a second. I thought it was the cutest
hilarious,
thing.
Right?
Because at the end of the day, like our parents see it that way. They're like,
she's still my mom. Yeah, like when I was on the computer, just doing whatever I was doing, or I wouldn't go to her house for a while. She just thought, she's like, oh, I hope you're not wasting your time. That's pretty much all she would say. But to now see it and still tell me she'd rather me go to college, I'm like, are you fucking serious? But that's my mom, like she's honest. I'm sure she'd rather me be straight, but we're here.
Well, what does your son think about the rap career? Like, is he old enough to get it? Lit.
Oh, my son thinks this is it. Like, this is the kids I'm talking about that I'm gonna walk into a room and tell them, like, look at my life. Do you want this type of shit? Listen to me. Like, that's him. Like, he listens to me because he's like, you must be right. Like, you're lit. Like, you're on YouTube and you got fans and you're, you know what I'm saying? And I still try to like teach him important lessons. And it's hard. I'm raising, he's smart. You know what I'm saying? And he's like into the memes and the TikTok, and he knows he's in on the humor and sarcasm and everything. So it's like, oh shit, like I'm raising a mini me, and he's just crazy. But there is some tough lessons out there. Like the other day I had some fucking dude was like getting crazy with me and like aggressive, and I just like, he was saying that I look broke and that do I need $1 and all this shit, right? He's saying this weird shit to me.
On social media or in real?
In person. I was buying some like hair stuff or whatever, and like this dude's doing that, and I'm with my son, so I'm a little bit like, okay, like, and I'm just laughing. I'm like, dude, pay for your shit and go, like, whatever. And that's a lesson I got to teach my kid, like, sometimes you got to walk away from shit. Yes, I could have a mouth on me and start talking shit, but we don't know what's going to happen. And there's been a lot of real people get killed by fake ass people. I'm like, so one thing you got to know, and that's one thing I'm teaching him, because he's getting his little followers up and he's growing, and I don't know what he's still a kid. So I'm like, you got to know, don't get involved in some drama you don't need to get involved in. Know how to walk away, know how to, it doesn't make you less of a man if you know what I'm saying, if you let a crazy person that has nothing to lose be crazy by themselves, like these are all things. So all I could say about raising a boy in 2020 is like, especially with everything going on, like, don't get involved with police. You are a man of color. Like, don't get in some bullshit. There's haters out here, and just because you have 25,000 followers doesn't mean you famous yet, son. You need to work around the house.
25,000 followers at 10 years old. I can't even imagine that.
Right? And he be out here and I'll be bringing him on stage, and he's lit. So making my son proud is the best.
I was raised by a single mom, so
I think if anything, sometimes that's better, because having a fragile ego man raise your son is worse than him, you know what I'm saying, like not being there, because a lot of times, that type of shit can be passed down, and it's like, I want my son to know he's a real man because he's a real man, not because he says he is and he has to push people down to make himself feel better. So I think it's good.
What would you tell him if he wakes up tomorrow and he wants to be a rapper like his mom?
I would tell him, I'm not writing anything for you. I'm not giving you anything that you don't deserve. I'm going to say, you better show and prove. I want to hear you be better than me, which it'll be easy because I think he can be. But I've always told him I didn't want him to. I've always been very vocal about, I don't want him to get into entertainment because, and I tell him why, and I tell him how depressing it could be, and I tell him how many fake friends you can have, and like I tell him sometimes, like, if you're doing it if you want to do this type of stuff for the money, like there's other things that make more money than this, so it's like, just, I try to push him away because I know this could be easy for him to get into, and I don't want him to get into something that is just happened to be easy, and then next thing you know, he hates it. And I love him, so I want him to grow up and do something he really loves, you know. Even though it seems like he's very entertaining, but who knows? We'll see what happens.
You've been in the game for a decade, gone through the ups and the downs. What advice would you give to a young artist watching?
I would let them know off top, it's not all it's cracked up to be. It really isn't. And make sure you love this shit, and make sure this is exactly what you want, and make sure you know that this is a lot of work. A lot of people get into this rap shit and really think that they saw their rapper talk about he woke up, he smoked the blunt, he recorded a verse, he did drugs, and he fucked a bitch. Like, that's not rap. You know what I'm saying? That's rap if you're making 10% of your money and a label's doing everything for you and you want to be an industry plant. That's rap. Like, if you got assistants and managers and this and that and labels and A&Rs and everybody's doing everything for you, understand you're gonna have a huge pay cut. And if you're fine with that, that's good. There's a lot of people that could be happy as fuck with that. That's perfect. But if you want to work for it and don't want that pay cut, you have to work for it. So it's just kind of like, it's understanding the price of business. And I think a lot of people don't understand that there's a price of business. You know, even me, I've had artists that I've signed and they don't understand that it's like, okay, well, if you want me to do this much, then I'm going to take this much. If you want me to do this much, then I'm going to take this much. Like, this is a fair exchange. This is a business. Let's treat it like a business. There is people purchasing your music. You owe them a level of respect. You know what I'm saying? Like, I try to teach people that type of vibe. And a lot of time people be like, damn, like, this isn't what I thought it was. I was like, well, I don't want you to get into some shit and waste my money, because I'm not Sony or, you know, Atlantic. I'm a person that's spending real ass money and putting you on real ass stages. And if you end up being a bum, then I'm going to sit here like, how you gonna pay for that? You better get a job.
That's real. Going independent now, after being on Atlantic for so long, what are the biggest benefits and what might be some drawbacks?
I made money. I made money. I don't have people. I think if you're like super crazy, like don't give a fuck, and you're super confident, you could be on a major and it doesn't matter. When you're someone like me, they make you question yourself, and they don't even mean to. I'm not saying people are bad. I'm just saying, like, everybody's like, are you sure? Would you bet the house on it? Would you do this? Would you do that? Like, and you start just kind of like second guessing, and you start being like, yo, is it not good? Like, you're showing songs. So I think just the freedom of just fans. I've always been real to my fans. They've always been real to me. I've done free meet and greets for years. So I've developed a fan base that like really fucks with me. So I'd rather be independent and have a smaller fan base, but have like loyalty and know what we're doing, than to keep reaching for something that like may or may not be there, and I'm not happy and I'm depressed and I'm sad every time I do an interview because everybody's like, you're on Atlantic, what do you think is wrong? Like, you know, damn man, you've really been trying hard and it's not working out. And you're just like, damn, like every interview makes me feel like shit, you know? So way happier now. I'm happy to be here. I get to make music, drop it whenever I want, shoot a video in my fucking living room, see it get 20 million fucking views and be happy, you know? That's what it's about. When you start realizing that this is my art and I have fans and all I need to do is like give it to them, everything else is like, what the fuck was I doing for so many years, you know?
The way the technology's evolved where you can just talk to your fans directly, I still wonder why so many young rappers, like their aspiration is to get signed to a major. I think we still have this idea in our head that that's what it means to make it. But when you actually go behind the contracts and see what that actually means, and how you don't necessarily own your masters, or how you don't have control of when your music comes out, or things like that as an artist are pretty important. I think we're getting better at showing that independent is a good way to go for a lot of people. But there still seems to be like this mystique about like, you know, to make it, it means you got to sign to a label. Yeah.
It's, look, I'm not even one of the people that hates majors that much. You know what I mean? Even though I went through what I went through, whatever, like I always, and I think this is why I remain not so jaded, is because I just I guess I see it every which way. I was a difficult artist to promote or to even know how to handle because I was Mexican American. There wasn't anybody, there's no blueprint for what the fuck I was doing. The way I dress, the way I am, you know, you can't just dress me like, you know, other female rappers and it worked because I'm gonna be awkward because that's not who I am. So it's like, there was a lot of things that were just difficult. Now a male rapper, you might fucking get signed and you might fucking pop off. They throw a little fucking chain on you, some clothes on you, all of a sudden you're lit. Who knows? But it's a business. And like I said, if you're willing to give up a big percentage, but everybody do everything for you, you're gonna be lit. The problem is when you start getting a little older and being like, yo, like my identity isn't really that, like I wanna be this, and now you can't. And now you're a slave to that. And now you're a slave to that image and that shit because you took that for the money. That's when you get a little bit like, it's just more of like your character, you know? And I'm not gonna lie, when I had no money in the fucking bank and I had, you know, a baby, a tiny little baby that I needed to feed, and somebody came at me with a check and they were promising me the world, I did think this was it. I was like, yo, this is what's gonna happen. Thankfully, I watched a lot of YouTube videos of other artists complaining about majors. So I invested my money how I should, and I made a deal to where I kept certain things off the table, and I was able to still eat, still build, still grow. So when I left, it was like nothing. I had always been shooting my stuff. My brother shot Woke Wednesday 10 or 11 years ago in my living room, you know, and it's like we would shoot all these music videos, all this content, everything. We've been doing it ourselves, you know. I had Woke clothing line forever, and it's like we did that. So I think it could have gone worse. So I'm not mad at the labels. I think, you know, keep doing your thing. However, time's kind of running out.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm hoping that times like this, I mean, I know we had the Blackout Tuesday in the music industry, but I'm hoping that goes a little deeper, because what you mentioned, I think, happens a lot. There's predatory behavior that happens in major labels when they come into our communities, and they take advantage of the fact that artists are in certain situations where they really need the money because you said you have a kid, or because you need to help your mom, or because you don't have food on the table, whatever, and they take advantage of that, put a little shiny object, and then all the stuff in the back end, you're like, I mean, luckily you said you looked at YouTube videos and you were able to discern what you wanted. That
was around when Lupe was talking a lot. Right. So I was like, you know, and sometimes I even think about that. I'm like, yo, because I was so into reading stuff like that, like, did I call that to my deal, you know, of like knowing I was kind of gonna get the shitty end of the stick? But I don't know, man. I think everything had to happen how it's not like I'm just trying to be cliche, but I think everything had to happen like that. Like, I'm not mad at a single fucking thing. I think it helped me develop this character that I have now, this person that I am now, and this fan base that has always wanted to see me win, and just this passion and this feeling of like, yo, I'm gonna show every single person that fucked me over, you know, what I could have been doing, you know. And I think that kind of like propelled me to work that much fucking harder. So it's like, had anything been different, I don't even think I'd be rapping, you know. So it's cool.
Speak about having a unique identity. You obviously have a track called Cookie Cutter Bitches. But you never felt into that lane of like, oh, they're trying to market me as such.
Yeah.
Why is that important to you?
I've always had a rebellious attitude since I was a little girl. I've always wanted to just be an individual. I didn't want to, you know, and it's like I felt like, because I grew up, you know, a tomboy, and I grew up certain ways, like, you know, I was also, part of the tomboy thing wasn't just being tomboy, it was I was shy, and I grew up in a very Catholic household where, you know, had I been talking about sex or anything at a young age, like, my parents would have whooped my ass, and I, you know, just respeto, you know, like, that's literally how you're taught. So a lot of that just was engraved in me, so like, it was just in me, you know. So it's like, I just couldn't be that. And it made me mad that people would say, if you're not this, you will never be successsul. Like, if you don't dress like this, if you don't look like this, if you don't talk like this, you will never make it. And it pissed me off, because I'm like, why? Like, I'm dead ass seeing 30 male rappers that are unattractive as fuck, and they get to be rich and have the baddest bitches, but me, I better be a bad bitch and talk about this and dress like this and be the, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what? I can't just wear a hoodie and a beanie and fucking like just be a good rapper? Because you signed a rapper, you didn't sign, you know, whatever that was, like, you know. But I don't know, I wanted to be an individual, and like I said, I grew up on Alejandra Guzman and Gloria Trevi, and I saw them succeed, so I was like, why can't I be my individual self?
The cookie cutter stuff might hit faster, it might do that, but it's like right afterwards it just kind of like dissipates. But it's the people who like are fighting to set their own lane. Yeah. Those are the people that 10 years, 20 years, 30 years are still having a loyal fan base because they connect on a core level instead of on some. Yeah.
And it wasn't even like, it wasn't necessarily ever like a Nicki shouldn't exist or a Cardi shouldn't exist. They should exist, but that's their authentic self. That's who they want to be. to me, it was more like in the 90s, there was a Brat, there was a Shauna, there was a, you know what I'm saying? There was all these type of, there was Missy, there was all these type of female rappers. There's Lauryn Hill, there's all these rappers. And why can't we have that nowadays? Nowadays, every girl gotta look like they're trying to be, and it's like, I felt like there should be a difference, you know? And now you could see that. Now in 2020, there's a lot of female rappers that are out here doing a bunch of different things and nobody's telling them shit. I just feel like back when I was rapping at a label, they were dead ass telling me it could never happen. Come to find out, there's a bunch of people doing exactly what I had said that could have worked. You know, I went to Coachella and I saw Billie Eilish performing, and I said this on my podcast, I was like dropping a tear because I'm like, yo, I always knew that could happen. You could wear whatever the fuck you want and just have good music and be performing for a huge crowd. Why not? So it's very freeing, and it makes me very happy to see that happening nowadays, you know?